Hi, guys. Welcome back to Bible Time with Mrs. Barr. Today we are looking at Acts chapter 19, verses 21 through 41. I'm going to go ahead and flip the screen over, and we are going to listen to Acts chapter 19, verses 21 to 41.
After all this had happened, Paul decided to go to Jerusalem, passing through Macedonia and Achaia. After I have been there, he said, I must visit Rome also. He sent two of his helpers, Timothy and Erastus, to Macedonia, while he stayed in the province of Asia a little longer. About that time there arose a great disturbance about the way. A silversmith named Demetrius, who made silver shrines of Artemis, brought in a lot of business for the craftsmen there. He called them together along with the workers in related trades and said, You know, my friends, that we receive a good income from this business. And you see and hear how this fellow Paul has convinced and led astray large numbers of people here in Ephesus and in practically the whole province of Asia. He says that gods made by human hands are no gods at all. There's danger not only that our trade will lose its good name, but also that the temple of the great goddess Artemis will be discredited, and the goddess herself, who is worshipped throughout the province of Asia and the world, will be robbed of her divine majesty. When they heard this, they were furious, and began shouting, Great is Artemis of the Ephesians! Soon the whole city was in an uproar. The people seized Gaius and Aristarchus, Paul's traveling companions from Macedonia, and all of them rushed into the theater together. Paul wanted to appear before the crowd, but the disciples would not let him. Even some of the officials of the province, friends of Paul, sent him a message begging him not to venture into the theater. The assembly was in confusion. Some were shouting one thing, some another. Most of the people did not even know why they were there. The Jews in the crowd pushed Alexander to the front, and they shouted instructions to him. He motioned for silence in order to make a defense before the people. But when they realized he was a Jew, they all shouted in unison for about 2 hours, Great is Artemis of the Ephesians. The city clerk quieted the crowd and said, Fellow Ephesians, doesn't all the world know that the city of Ephesus is the guardian of the temple of the great Artemis and of her image, which fell from heaven? Therefore, since these facts are undeniable, you ought to calm down and not do anything rash. You have brought these men here, though they have neither robbed temples nor blasphemed our goddess. If then Demetrius and his fellow craftsmen have a grievance against anybody, the courts are open and there are proconsuls. They can press charges. If there's anything further you want to bring up, it must be settled in a legal assembly. As it is, we are in danger of being charged with rioting because of what happened today. In that case, we would not be able to account for this commotion, since there's no reason for it. After he said this, he dismissed the assembly.
Okay, so let's go back up to Acts 19 and 21 to 41. So the word of the Lord is spreading and growing, and after this happened, Paul decided to go to Jerusalem and pass through Mesopotamia and Achaia. After he had been there, he said that he also must visit Rome. He sent two of his helpers, Timothy and Erastus, to Mesopotamia while he stayed in the province of Asia a little longer. And then the next section, there's riots in Ephesus. There was a great disturbance about the way, so against the believers. A silversmith was upset because what they were doing was affecting his business. people weren't making as many idols and things as they had been in the past. And so he was convinced that something about these people needed to be taken care of and needed to be done. He was upset that, they were recognizing that gods made with human hands aren't gods at all. There is a danger not only to their trade will lose its good name, but also the temples that had been in that area were going to be affected, and that made the people upset. And people got to the point where they were shouting Artemis and of the Ephesians, and soon the whole city was in an uproar. The people seized Gaius and Articus, Paul's traveling companions from Mesopotamia, and all of them rushed into the theater together. Paul wanted to appear before the crowd, but the disciples wouldn't let him because they believed that it wasn't safe and wouldn't be a good thing. There was just people yelling and great confusion, and it was a mess. They pushed Alexander to the front. They shouted instructions to him. He motioned for the room to be silent. But when they realized he was a Jew, they also shouted in unison for about 2 hours, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians." The city clerk quieted the crowd. Fellow Ephesians, doesn't all the world know that the city of Ephesus is the garden of the temple of the great Artemis and of her image which fell from heaven? Therefore, since we know this, let's, don't go crazy, start thinking rash. The men here have neither robbed the temple nor blasphemed our God. Pretty much saying, again, do you have a good case against these men? Have they done anything illegal? If so, bring them to the courts, and that's where it'll be settled there. But they don't. They were pretty much told that they didn't have a case against Paul and his companions, and at this point they would just be accused of rioting. So it's interesting to see that this has been said before, like, you're just complaining about words, you're just looking for something to complain about, you really don't have anything that stands ground. And this is what Paul and his companions have experienced before, and it probably won't be the last time either. So this has been Acts 19 verses 21 through 41. We'll see you next time. Bye. God bless.